their own
Senior
thoughts.
Advocate, I want to come in here because, you know, the example my colleague gave is a pertinent one, but it's also an elite one. Even if you go to the grassroots, look at what has happened even with the reaction to the slaughtering across the country around New Year's. We all know it took more than 3 months for the president to physically go to some of these places. Not even physically, but even we didn't even hear any kind of, this notion of even calling any representative of some of these communities or anything like that. So no kind of direct communication at all for 3 months. Some people would say, forget about the presidency, even on a human level, that's not normal, not to speak of the presidency. What are your thoughts about that when we talk about the disconnect?
Was it more important for him to do something on time or to go there on time?
Why they're not mutually exclusive. Can they not go together?
My own perspective is that it was more important for him to do something on time. And in all of these situations, he did something on time. It's more important than the physical presence. Doing something on time, of course, the physical presence is very important, but I think doing something on time is more important than going there on time. Because don't forget, too, that you may rush there and make some kind of statements that are, you know, that are not in tune with what actually happened. I'll give you an example. Let me give you an example on the dangers of the president rushing to a scene on time without getting the full facts. There was a bomb blast at Ikeja, remember, in 2000, the year 2000. The bomb blast in the Ikeja cantonment, where so many people died, you know, running away. And the Obasanjo rushed down there the next day. Remember what he said? He said, after all, nobody died. Obasanjo said, look, we must be students of history. Obasanjo said, after all, nobody died, so we should be okay, you know, with this and that. I don't need to be here anyway. It was only the next day or the 2 days later we discovered that so many people who were running away from the bomb blast died in that stream behind you know. That is the danger of a president not getting all the facts before rushing to the scene. So it's a matter of style.
Senior Advocate,
it's a matter of style.
I understand what you're saying. Senior Advocate, you know, you've now juxtaposed the kind of the physical presence with the action taken behind closed doors. Now, I want to ask you.
Closed doors?
I want to ask you about the actions taken from the presidency, even during that time. Even questions arose during that time that, look, even when he sent the IG, it was well after those massacres happened. Operation Cat Race came months after even Governor Otom was coming out, you know, claiming that government was against his people, etc., before that even happened. So was that actually on time, even the action?
Cat Race was a military operation. At times, you don't start with military operations when you know that there's a problem somewhere. And you know, of course, too, that it is the duty of the police to keep the peace within Nigeria. So at times, you send the police, and you know when you know that they are incapable of performing, then you now send in the army. And most times, they don't send in the army at first instance. You know, they send in the police first, and that's what happened. And don't forget that people kept shouting and crying that, well, because you did some military operation in other parts of the country, you had to do it here too. They brought politics into this, all of this. They brought politics and ethnicity into all of this too, before the president had to react. You know, so the point is that the police was sent, which is the normal constitutional duty of the police, go and keep the peace. When the police is incapable of performing their functions in most times, the president and commander-in-chief, in his wisdom, sends in the army. And that's what happened in that case.
I've seen so many instances, you know, of where the president has been accused of aloofness, even before the security situation became so bad, even before Benue, you know, started happening. There have been questions as to how he's handling this farmer herdsman crisis. I mean, kudos have been given in terms of, you know, the war against terrorism in the Northeast, and that's because of the nature. But when you look at what is currently happening there, there are also questions as to how it is that we could have defeated a group, but then we're vulnerable to them kidnapping over 110 of our girls in Dapchi. You know, that happened right under the president's watch. But then, you know, these are all the things that some people will point to. Let us talk about the things that happened shortly after the 2015 elections. The fact that the country...
you just talked about...
I will let you respond
to it.
Right. I will let you respond to it because security is an issue that we'll come to. But we're looking at, you know, the accusation of being aloof, You know, let's talk about what happened shortly after the 2015 elections. A lot of people said that this country was divided along ethnic and religious lines because of the campaigns and how the manner in which they were conducted, and that the president had a responsibility to unite the entire country. We heard shouts of restructuring shortly afterwards. You know, it became really, really loud. How would you rate the manner in which the president handled that particular matter? Do you think that it brought this country more together, or did it even divide us even more in terms of how he handled it?
The problem is that people carried over the sentiments of the elections. They carried those sentiments over to post-election period.
Isn't that to be expected?
Yeah, but who caused the problem in the first place? The religious divide, for instance, before the elections. Did you see the president whipping up religious sentiments? He was not the cause of it. But he had a duty, I agree, after the elections to unite the country. But you cannot point out any specific area where he continued to stoke religious divide, for instance. Before the elections, did you see the president going to bow down before imams and calling on mosques to support him and all of that? Who did that? Which of the candidates did that? That was using, you know, religion as a base to campaign.
But you just
the president never used Islam as a base to campaign.
Mr. Keyamo,
so who divided this country along those lines?
Mr. Keyamo, you just agreed with me that the president might not have caused it, but he has a responsibility to mend it.
But you have not said any specific instance where he did not make that effort. The point is that there are certain persons, you must realize that, who from day one began to work very hard to undermine the regime. People who did not want to mend their ways. And you saw those sentiments after the election where they kept talking against other parts of the country, kept pummeling other parts of the country, and, you know, promoting religious divide. No, I mean, what can the president do about that?
You don't
Will the president force their mentality back and, you know, retune their mentality back to normal and reset their mentality? You know, why I'm very excited about 2019 is this. Those people who went to tell their people lies in 2015, about this other part of the country, they are like this, they are power mongers, they think they are the ones that will rule, the Hausa are like this, the Southerners are like this. In 2015, they have now zoned their ticket to the north. So in 2019, they will go back to those same people and say, oh, we are sorry. What we said about these people are not really correct. So the people will begin to ask them, how sincere are you? They will see them for who they truly are. That they are just playing politics with their lives. Because they will go back to those same people to sell the same tickets that they so criticized in 2015. The same northern ticket, they will go back to their people and begin to prostrate to them to say, please, you have to accept this ticket now. That is how much politics they played in 2015 with tribe and religion.
Mr. Keyamo, it's sad, but that is the reality of our country.
But must we accept that?
That's the question. The question is, whose job is it to ensure that, you know, we do not accept that?
Yeah, but that is the president, and that is what he kept doing.
Has he done that?
Well, when a certain part of this country began to stoke up ethnic sentiments that they want to pull out, they were holding rally somewhere. What did he do? He stamped it out decisively when he came back from medical vacation. And that is the way to put the country together. He did not let those sentiments to continue. Some people went to float a private radio. They were preaching hate every time, calling the country a zoo. They were calling other parts of the country, you know, all kinds of unprintable names. Can you hear that again? That is how the president did it. He came and stamped it down out decisively.
I do not know if this, you know, headline is anything to go by. So what we're seeing on the front page of the leadership, IPOB backs BMB's re-election. Is that a terrorist group? Isn't that a group that has been designated a terrorist group?
Well, did he tell them to back him up? Anybody can speak out. Anybody can back anybody. It's not the function of the president to say, you know, please come and back me because it's not him. Oh. So even like you see today, one of the criticisms of the president where, you know, call PDP members before that they term as corrupt and all that. And they come these days and they're campaigning for the president and all that. Will the president stop them? Anybody can endorse you. Anybody can endorse you, really. It's not for you to stop anybody.